This episode of Area Code Batavia is brought to you by the Rotary Club of Batavia, a membership organization that does a range of service projects for the community. If you're looking to get started making a difference in Batavia, you can find out more at bataviarotaryclub.org or click the link in the show notes. Hey everybody, you're listening to Area Code Batavia, a podcast about what it means to belong in Batavia, Illinois. I'm your host, Richard Clark. Today on the show, we have the second conversation from our City Council series with two council members from Ward 1, Jennifer Baerren and Christopher Solfa. Ward 1 is a unique blend of the old and the new. There are decades-old neighborhoods occupied by young families who just moved there. There's newer developments surrounded by ancient trees. Everywhere you look, there are people and trees putting down roots. This range of residents, newcomers, and the established young families and settled retirees can present some challenges. That's why I wanted to talk to Jennifer and Christopher about the hard work of representing such a broad constituency. In fact, my guests today represent that diversity in their own experience and their own stories. We all get to Batavia in different ways. Some of us are born here. Others land here after decades of living, and we all need different things. I wanted to know how Jennifer and Christopher work together to honor the needs and desires of everyone, even when that might seem impossible. Here's my conversation with Ward 1 City Council members Jennifer Baerren and Christopher Solfa. Okay, you were saying you call it COW? Is that what you called it?
COW.
The Committee of the Whole.
COW. Committee of the Whole. Yeah. That makes sense. And that's where
we're making the sausage.
That's where the sausage gets made. It's where the real decisions are made.
And all the discussions are done.
The discussions are
done before you can make a decision, because there's no decisions made at the COW.
Right. No decisions.
There's recommendations.
Discussions about the stuff. So the deeper discussions that you don't want to take up time having in the actual council meeting. But then people do come in and express opinions.
Yes.
So how often do you find yourself going, oh, wait a minute, in the council meeting?
There's not, to be honest, it's few and far between people come down to make any comments about anything.
Yeah.
Oh, really? In general?
Yeah, in general. I mean, there's a couple of regulars that come down about certain topics. You know, if it's a renewable energy topic, that we'll have some of the same people. But in general, the public is usually empty over here.
Yeah, I would say if somebody did come down to city council, I wouldn't say it really sways me that much, because we've had those discussions in COW, and that's where everybody on council is, putting out what their thoughts are and everything. And it kind of helps us get to the end point.
Yeah.
Where everybody's put their input. And I do like those discussions because it does help me understand where other people are coming from.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, and you also got to think about, is it just the unsilent minority who's coming down here as opposed to the silent majority?
Yep.
Because the majority of people aren't going to say anything. So,
right.
Because one person's coming down, are they really in the minority, but they're just really vocal about it?
How do you know the answer to that question?
You just got to kind of know the town and know your constituents and know, and also have your own views and thoughts on things as well. I mean, the council's made up of the whole different menagerie of all kinds of different backgrounds of people. So everybody's got input into certain things where they have specialties or whatever you might think. So, you take everything kind of with a grain of salt, so to speak. And then you go by what your values are. I mean, you are an elected person. You're supposed to be representing technically your ward, but then the city as a whole too. So, and we've gotten times where there's people who don't even live in the city that want to come down and cause a ruckus.
Interesting. What are those times about? Why are they doing that?
So
what's the point of that?
All right. The point, I don't know. The point is they want to make a political statement. One of the recent ones was the one about that everybody demanded that we as Batavia demand a ceasefire on the Gaza Strip.
Okay. Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was many people who were not from Batavia. That was my first question when they stood up. Are you from Batavia?
Yeah.
And you know what? I'd say 9 out of the 10 people who got up and spoke were not from Batavia.
And did you let them still speak?
Everybody can speak.
Okay, noted. Go ahead.
Everybody can speak. Everybody can speak. In general, the unwritten rule is you got about 3 minutes.
Yeah.
To kind of espouse whatever view you're trying to get across.
Yeah. It is interesting because it does feel like when I talk to people, maybe more often than other city councils, like people are allowed to speak. And that's a big value here. Yeah. So it's interesting to hear that it's like very rare, relatively rare, and maybe not the most effective thing always in every situation.
I actually prefer when people do come down and, speak to us directly as opposed to an email, because a lot of times you get the emails that are the same things over and over.
Right.
As opposed to really individualizing themselves.
Yeah. You can tell when it's an email campaign where it's like a cut and paste. Somebody told them, let's bombard. It's just like anything. It's just because we're on a smaller scale. It's just email your senator, and then there's a format, and all of a sudden you just see it, and they might change a word or two, but it's the same thing. And again, it's a lot of those things they'll come from people who are not even involved in whatever area or whatever part of the town or whatever issue it may be. But a friend of theirs said, hey, I really want to get this done. You do the email bombardment, type of thing. And those are definitely less effective, I think.
Yeah. I would probably say the one that was most effective was Cheryl Cryer with was it Kratom? Yeah, with the Kratom. She did great because, she had people, but What
is Kratom?
It is
think of it like how like everybody uses CBD oils and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, it's kind of like the similar concept.
Okay.
All right, so it's like part of wellness stores, and people claim it can do real good things, without having a pharmaceutical solution to whatever your issue may be. It could be anxiety or, ADHD. I don't even know. I don't use it, but yeah, she actually did get people who actually sent out articles and sent out explanations.
To open a store or something?
She has a store open.
Okay,
Crybaby, right at the corner of Shemway and First.
Yes.
Where River West is. And it was a very educational type of campaign. So it really was like, oh, I need to learn more about it. And then she showed up and talked about it and was like, hey, I know there's some areas that need to be corrected, but this is not a good policy. And then she spent time with the police chief actually framing the policy to where at the end it was something that she was proud of and can speak to other communities about.
Yeah.
Because there isn't a statewide policy on it. So it kind of fell down on the municipalities.
Yeah.
And what I would love to see from it is maybe the state take the Batavia policy and kind of incorporate that into the state level.
Awesome.
Very cool. So that's where I would say that was very effective.
Okay. So at the beginning of the podcast, I always ask people the same question. When was the first time you felt like you belonged in Batavia?
I've been here since 1976 and lived here. I graduated from high school here. Then I went away for college, and then I had law school, and then lived downtown Chicago, but then moved back here moved back in 2001.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, I've always felt like Batavia, belonged to Batavia.
Yeah. You didn't have a moment where you're like, yes, this is it. I belong here.
No, it's just you lived here.
Yeah.
And you got to remember this height that when I graduated from high school, our graduating class was less than 200 kids.
Yeah.
So it's gotten a lot. We're still not exactly a metropolis here.
Yeah.
But it's a lot bigger than it used to be.
It is interesting to think about how size affects that, where if you live in a place that's a lot smaller and you're just here, it makes a lot more sense that you would feel a sense of belonging.
Batavia was always a good mix of people. Even when we were growing up, it was a whole mix of different types of people and different types of, professionals and, blue collar, white collar. It was just on a smaller scale.
Yeah.
But I still feel it's pretty much the same as it was. It's just a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think I've always enjoyed the intermix and interplay of the types of people in Batavia.
Awesome. Jennifer, what about you?
I'm a transplant from Michigan.
Nice.
So I came to Batavia 2004, had a house with my ex-husband at the time, and then went through a divorce shortly after that and was renting on the east side. And I was like, what am I going to do? I don't know anybody. I'm fairly new to this area, had a kid. And so I joined the Batavia Mothers Club.
Can I ask how old your kid was at this time?
10 months.
10 months. Wow. Okay. It's like a panic moment, right?
Yeah. I was like, I need to connect with people. So yeah, I joined Batavia Mothers Club, and
Awesome.
it was kind of like nerve-wracking at that time. And then as I got more and more involved with the foundation, because Batavia Mothers Club Foundation, I got to know people.
Yeah.
And then we were doing things in the community, fundraisers, and giving money back. And as I was gaining those friendships with people with children the same age, that's where I began feeling like this is my area.
Yeah.
So then I was like, this is where I want to raise my daughter. This is where I want to put roots down. So then there was, okay, how am I going to find a place that I can afford, to purchase? And it took about 3 years to find a place. But Woodland Hills has a bunch of duplexes throughout the entire neighborhood that people may not realize that are out there. And then I know there's a bunch of duplexes on the west side of Batavia too. So I was able to find something to purchase, and it's where I raised my daughter.
Awesome. Is the Batavia Mothers Club, they primarily just do service things?
A lot of it is service, but a lot of it is also social.
Okay.
And again, that's where you kind of get to know your people. Every month they would have their meetings, but they would also have social events throughout the month.
Got it.
So that's where you kind of got to know people outside of out of that.
It's been around forever. I mean, my mom was a member. They used to they used to put on a play every year. I don't know if they were doing that when you did it.
No.
When's the next play?
Plays.
Yeah, no, they did a play every single year, and all the mothers played different parts.
That sounds kind of cool, actually.
I'm glad we didn't do that. We did a lot of dress up though.
What does that mean? A lot of dress up?
Oh yeah, we would have PJ Bunko, and we'd have different themes where we dress up, Halloween parties.
Nice.
Yeah, it was such a good time. And then they did and it's been a while since I've seen it, but they had a scavenger hunt in Batavia. We did in the cars, and then they kind of turned it into where they just keep it more downtown.
Yeah, localized, yeah.
Yeah, so.
That's cool. Describe the moment that each of you sort of felt like, okay, I want to run for city council. This is something I actually want to do, as opposed to like speculating about it.
I was always in the know of what was going on. So everybody would turn to me and be like, hey, what's going on? What's being built there? What's being built here?
Why were you the person in the know about what was going on?
Because I always, figured out what was going on, either reading what was going on.
Did you know people, or you just paid attention?
I just paid attention.
I see. Yeah.
I don't talk a lot, but I watch
You're
what's
always
going
watching.
on. I'm always
Yeah, that makes sense.
People don't know, but
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that don't realize I know them.
I see, yeah.
But yeah, I watch people. And then Ward 1 had quite a few times where people were leaving in the middle.
Oh, interesting. Council members were leaving in the middle of their terms.
Yep.
Okay.
And so finally it was probably the third time I was like, oh yeah, I've always thought about doing it. And then I started talking to people, and they convinced me to apply for an open spot.
Yeah.
So then I had an interview with Chris and one other guy. I beat them out.
Nice.
Yeah.
It took a second.
So you and Chris were both up for the job.
Yeah.
And when you say you took second, clearly that's a joke, but also what does that mean?
So when you get appointed, for instance, somebody leaves in the middle of the term, maybe they move out of the ward.
Yeah.
You have to live in the ward, okay?
Yep.
So for whatever reason may be, somebody has to vacate the seat, then anybody in the ward can apply. You don't have to run for election or anything.
Right.
Okay? And then you come down, and then the remaining members of council interview you. And then technically it's the mayor's recommendation, the mayor's choice, but basically everybody goes back into chambers then in terms of council, and then there's been different ways of the votes being handled, but it's basically a vote to see
amongst the council members.
Yeah. To see who they think of all the candidates. Sometimes there's barely anybody. Sometimes there's 5 people, sometimes there's 5 people, but one person shows up, sees there's more people, and says, I'm not even going to do it then.
Right.
When she got more, I think there was a rank voting for a while.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. So who got the most first place first? Then you add it all up.
Interesting. Yeah.
For points.
Cool.
So she beat me.
What were the things that were keeping you from doing it as you were thinking about it? And then what did people say that convinced you to finally do it?
For me, it was definitely being a single mom and knowing if I had time to juggle that.
Yeah.
Because my daughter was an athlete, and so she had commitments outside of that, and being able to make that time to drive her and make sure that she could go to those functions or to those practices. So I think for me, it was just being able to get her around and making sure that she was all set, and then that time commitment for it.
It sounds like it was just figuring out the logistics. There was no silver bullet there. You just had to figure out how to make it work. So you were pretty determined then to do it, it sounds like.
Knowing that there was a spot open.
Yeah.
I was like, that makes it easy.
And then you could beat this guy.
Right? Yeah. Oh, and it was nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
Because they had the three of us sitting at a table and just fired us questions. It was like almost an hour and a half.
That sounds intense.
It was way more than we've ever done.
Right. So it was after that where they...
That specific one was worse than
it was the most intense one of anyone I've ever seen.
And then after that, they went to the one person at a time staying at the podium, and we limited it to like 6 or 7 questions or something.
Okay.
And everybody's supposed to sit outside the room too, so you don't start getting, everybody starts saying the same answer, Right.
Yeah.
What do you think about the dam? And then, you see somebody say something and they see people nodding up there, and the next person comes up and goes, says the exact same thing that our person just said.
Whatever that guy said, you guys liked it.
Yeah.
So it's that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was intense. Yeah, it was an intense one. I kind of almost forgot about that.
Yeah. That was the last time.
Yeah.
So Christopher, what made you want to run?
Well, like she said, there was an opening, and my kids had gotten older, so I was done coaching. I just decided, I want to get involved in the ward and get involved with Batavia more. I'd ran for school board.
Okay, yeah.
And that was one of those crazy times where, for whatever reason, there was like 8 people running for 3 spots.
For school board.
Well, yeah, because there was all kinds of, controversial topics coming up.
Sure.
So I ran for that, and I'm like, oh, well. Then I took 4th out of, you had to be top 3 in that one. I'm like, man, I keep on missing out. So when it came up again, both spots were open at the next election. So we both just ran, and I got elected that time.
And my term was supposed to be 2 years, and I flipped to the 4-year. So I pushed him down to the 2 year.
I took the 2, but then I got reelected for 4.
It's interesting, though, in both of your stories, there is a certain amount of determination involved where you just kept losing or whatever you would say, however you would put that.
Yeah.
And you just kept, Jennifer, you kept having to push through the sort of complicated logistics of being a single mom. Why were you both so determined to do this? Because, it's not like it pays really well.
Oh, it doesn't pay good at all.
So what is the motivation behind running for something like this over and over again, even?
Well, because in all reality, the city council is the one that kind of runs the town to a certain extent, even though some people like to micromanage, which I disagree with. We have a certain role here, We rely on staff to do all of the workup and all of the research and put things together to present to us as council.
Yeah.
And then council votes. And then there's 14, so you got to have, a majority. Otherwise, that's the only time the mayor's going to vote is if it's 7-7.
Got it.
So it's like an important position that people disregard all the time, I think. So, it's one of those things where I wanted to get involved because I thought some of the decisions weren't being made. I'm like, my big thing is, I like to keep things fiscally responsible.
Okay, yeah.
To a certain extent. And I like things to kind of just move along nice and evenly. And I'm not a big rock the boat guy, I wouldn't say. So anyway,
You're just like, how are we paying for this?
Yeah, kind of. Well, yeah, but not as much as one of our former aldermen who just wouldn't, he'd pinch a penny to, forever. But yeah, I am always worried about how are we going to pay for this, and do we really need to do this? Is this really something we want to attribute part of the budget towards? And also just because I like the town a lot, so I wanted to be involved in that way.
Yeah.
And you definitely get to know everything that happens in this town when you're on council because you're constantly getting fed all the information about what's going on, what the next projects are, what the plan is. We developed a whole master plan basically for the city itself, for the downtown, for the river corridor. There's all kinds of long-term planning going on.
Right.
Yeah. So for me, always giving back and being a part of the community was something that was important.
Yeah.
And I took that from my parents.
Okay.
Because they were always busy, always a part of doing something, an organization. And so I think I always felt, I have to be doing something. I have to be giving back to the community or just contributing.
Yeah.
So that I felt like that was my next step of just being part of the city council. And I was like, let me see how this goes.
Yeah.
And that's why I liked the part where I got to step in and serve only a partial to be like, is this what I really want to do?
Right.
And I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the conversations. I've enjoyed knowing what's going on and how the city really works and how decisions are made and how the budget fits in with that.
I'm sort of laughing because both of you really seem to value knowing what's going on. That has come up a few times, and it's interesting to me because not everyone in Batavia cares, you know?
Right.
Like a lot of people are perfectly fine not knowing. Some people just don't even express sort of opinions. There is obviously a whole subset of people who don't know and have strong opinions, which is like, we know why that's a problem.
Yeah.
But there are also people who just go along with their lives. And I think that's fine. That's what cities are, right? That's what towns are.
But those are the people that are important to me anyway, because that's the silent majority who just wants everything to run smooth.
Yeah.
And to go, without rocking the boat, without causing them any problems. Is there electricity working? Is all of the, are the trees getting trimmed by the power lines? Is there any flooding going on in my neighborhood? As long as there's no problems, everybody just doesn't really think about it.
Yes.
And so that's the kind of people, that's the way I want those people not to have to think about it.
Yeah, that's good.
They just keep on living a happy life.
But you like thinking about it though.
I do.
Yeah. That's what's interesting to me. And I totally agree. You're operating on behalf of people who do not want to think about it. But it requires someone who wants to think about it.
And we're basically 14 volunteers coming down here, because you're not going to survive on the money they're giving you. But yeah, so you're basically volunteering to make sure the city goes nice and smooth. And I mean, me personally, I also came on because I'm just not a person who does personal agendas either. I don't have a personal agenda.
Interesting.
There's no certain topic I was trying to promote or certain viewpoint or certain something.
You just want to save money.
Save money. And also keep Batavia running as smoothly as possible and, as pleasantly as possible.
Yeah. Totally.
And then blame the taxes on BPS 101.
Oh man. Brutal.
But it's got to stick in our head because, when we are making decisions, we have to be conscious of that okay, this is what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because if not, they'll be like, why did you raise my taxes?
You have to have an answer.
Yeah. You have to be able to, exactly. You have to be able to have a reason and a documented reason on why that decision was made.
Yeah.
We can't, I can't be like, well, that's how I felt last night.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Just felt like it was a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have people, especially on the east side, that I talk to when I'm out, and they are concerned about the taxes in the community, that they are being taxed out. It's okay, well, what services, what benefits can we show them from what they're getting from us?
Right.
And I think for what they really are getting from us, we're doing a pretty good job.
I think so too. If you look at, I was joking about the BPS thing, but in all reality, I'm not sure the exact number, but I think it's 68 cents of every dollar goes towards BPS 101 in terms of what your property tax is. And I'm sure everybody knows when the property taxes come out, everybody's up in arms, the property taxes went up. But in all reality, I think that what we've done and council in order to keep this city running smooth with actually only a third of the maybe less than a third of the actual property taxes, I think we're doing a pretty good job in that region.
Interesting. Yeah. It is interesting. The BPS thing is interesting because it illustrates something that's really hard about your roles, which is you sometimes have to spend tax money on things not everyone benefits from or cares about. And that I'm a dad, I send my kids to public school. There's nothing I value more than the money that goes to BPS 101,
Yeah.
And then I know there are people down the road who could not care less and are probably pretty frustrated.
It's totally true. There's different ways to look at it, though. So, of course, one of the big promotion points I think everybody always talks about is we got this great school district.
Yeah.
This is a great place to raise your kids. These public schools are good schools, But then I'm actually at the point now where 2 of my daughters are already graduated and then my third one's now going to a private school. So I'm in the boat where I'm paying all this money to BPS 101 for the first time in forever, and I don't have any kids there.
Yeah.
But you're still paying there to keep your property value up and to keep the community really does kind of center around a lot on our school system.
Totally.
The grade schools are right in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
We have JB Nelson for our grade school or Hoover Wood. It's right in the middle of the neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So you do have to balance that, and I'd always joke that well, we're paying we barely pay any taxes for city. It's mostly the schools. But yeah, you do have to take into account that we're not the ones handling that money. That's the other thing that everybody needs to know is when people call to complain about certain things or if they have issues, we're not in charge of the parks. We're not in charge of the park district, and we're not in charge of the schools. We have a limited role here, in terms of what we do. But it's limited in terms of the various functions we don't do, but it's actually pretty big because the roles that we do have to keep moving are the things that people don't think about. Yeah. The sewers and the water and the electric and just the city services and everything else.
Right. Now we'll take a break for another installment of Giving Back to Batavia, brought to you by our sponsor, the Rotary Club of Batavia. In each installment of Giving Back to Batavia, I talk to someone about their experience serving in Batavia and how we can do the same in a way that's both sustainable and fulfilling in our own lives. For this installment, I spoke to longtime members of the Batavia Rotary, Tom Von Lunen and Rick Pumo, about how the Rotary helped them establish a lifestyle of service and led to them feeling more connected to their community.
I was working in the city, taking a train in for 11 years. Before that, I was in New Jersey, taking a train into New York for 8 years. So it was, my life at that point was just get on the train, go to work, get on the train, go home. I didn't feel like I was belonging to anything because I knew that there was things going on, but I didn't know anything about them. Yeah. And I'm thinking, I can't continue to do this. I need to have some kind of ownership. And so I was invited to attend Rotary. Being retired, I look forward to getting up in the morning and doing something. It's just the normal course. Something comes up, somebody needs help with something. The Rotary's there to help in any way we can through service, finances if we have them. It just happens. It's not something that you go out looking for.
I had spent most of my career in technology sales and used my home basically like a hotel in between sales trips. And I didn't know people in the community. And I went to my first Rotary breakfast and sat down, had a very nice time, met wonderful people. And I came home and my wife said, well, who'd you meet? And I started describing their names. She said, you sat between the superintendent of schools and the fire chief. And I said, oh, I didn't know. And because none of them had any pretense about them or the position they held, they were just joyful people talking about community projects. And there I found myself suddenly integrated into this great group of people that really, in their own way, they were having a huge impact in the roles they played in the town. At the end of the day, I think we all come to a point in our lives where we realize chasing after a dollar in the rat race just simply isn't fulfilling enough. There has to be more to it. And some of us get to make time for it in our retirement, and some of us get the opportunity to do that beforehand. And I needed to do that beforehand just to feel good about my week. And it is kind of amazing not only how good you feel about the things that you do during the week, but how energized you feel by being around other people of a similar mind. And that's Rotary for us. I mean, every Tuesday morning, it's not just an update on what's going on in the community. It's energizing. Selfishly, I walk away from that feeling so wonderful. It was a great way to suddenly feel like part of the community, whereas I was a stranger. Right. We have dozens of projects that we work on. One of them, probably more than one, is going to tug at your heartstrings. And it doesn't feel like an inconvenience so much as this great opportunity to change something, do something wonderful. I can actually be an agent of change locally. When I get to watch the news for the rest of the day and look at all these issues where I can have almost no impact at all, but I can make a change in a lot of ways.
Giving Back to Batavia is brought to you by the Rotary Club of Batavia, a membership organization that does a range of service projects for the community. The Rotary Club of Batavia are neighbors, community leaders, business owners, and global citizens. Their work includes support for local, national, and international service projects. If you're looking to get started making a difference in Batavia, you can find out more at bataviarotaryclub.org or click the link in the show notes.
When you ran and got, how do I put this? When you became a part of city council, how did you expect that would pan out? Like, how were you hoping that would go, or how did you expect it to go?
I didn't really think about it, really. I mean, I just kind of, I'd going to meetings, watching meetings, seeing how everything worked. Guess I just kind of jumped right in.
Yeah.
And you also got to, if you're going to do it, you also can't be afraid to talk. Don't just sit there. I mean, anybody can sit there and be a wallflower and do nothing.
Right.
I mean.
Vote.
Yeah.
I was
vote.
a
when the
wallflower.
votes come. At first you were?
Yeah, I was.
Did you
'Cause
expect that you would be? Or was it sort of like, oh, the reality is hitting and I'm
I was
nervous?
nervous. I was totally nervous.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was expecting, people to think that I'm a extrovert.
Are you?
I'm very outgoing, but I am very nervous, and I'd rather sit by myself and just watch people. So yeah, I had no expectations like Chris did.
Yeah.
I was like, let's see how this goes. But I think the interaction and learning really what the staff does, the staff does a phenomenal job with, what they have to deal with all the time and how many grants they get for a lot of the projects that they do.
That's big, yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of things that we would not be able to have here in this community without the grants and being able to go out there.
We just got money for the new building for the food pantry and for the clothes closet. I mean, it's a beautiful building over there on the west side of town.
Yeah.
That was just going to be sitting there. And then staff found a grant that basically paid for that building.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's huge because it serves more people than you think in the community.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And that's probably the one unique thing about Batavia is that we have a food pantry and a closed closet and that we do so much to support one another in the community with all these different because there are so many out there. And then there's so many organizations like Batavia Mothers Club Foundation supporting these organizations that are supporting others.
Yeah. That aligns so much with what is unique about Batavia, I think, which is just this very service-oriented thing, this very let's do it ourselves kind of mindset, let's get it done kind of mindset. It's really interesting.
When there are times that we need people to volunteer, it seems to be always the same people, like at block parties and some of these other events that we have, what more can we do to get out there?
Yeah.
And that's just the generation. I mean, I grew up where I saw my parents serving organizations. They were out there serving others. But over the years, let me just give you some money and
oh, sure. Yeah.
Instead of the actual participation. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you are both from Ward 1. You represent Ward 1. What is something about Ward 1 that you wish other people knew? Whether it's people listening right now, whether it's other council members, something that often gets lost in the shuffle or that you would just...
So Ward 1 is basically the original subdivision, okay? If you think about it like this, because I grew up here. So if you go over in the part where I grew up, Ward 2, and it's all on a grid pattern, just like the city of Chicago. It's just everything's on a grid. You can know exactly where you're at all times. And then all of a sudden, Woodland Hills got built where there's curving roads, and it was, but still real nice because it wasn't one of those subdivisions where every third house looks the same. Every house in Woodland Hills is different.
Interesting. Where is Woodland Hills for people listening?
So basically what you're thinking of is you're going from Wilson Street all the way down to like Wen Energy Pass, getting close to Walmart there.
Yep.
And then it's very narrow because then it goes Kirk Road. And then basically if you think like Johnson Woods and maybe you curve around then to Redant and take it all the way. I mean, so it's just this long, narrow strip.
Yeah.
Basically on the southeast section of the city.
Got it. It's like on Kirk, right? Or
basically, it runs all along Kirk.
Yeah.
Yep.
Got it. Cool.
Yeah. So our neighbors have to deal with the increased traffic along Kirk Road and everything associated with that. At the time when it was built, the codes were different, so we don't have the detention or retention ponds. So there was for a while a lot of flooding issues, and there are still some neighbors that their yards flood just because of how the neighborhood was built.
It's the drain tiles and everything. But that got like Cherry Valley's part of Ward 1 and big project over there, and they fixed it it was real bad problems. And I think I haven't really heard any complaints since they did it. It took a while to get that fixed though. But
what is like the character of Ward 1, would you say?
Trees.
Lots of trees. We got lots of trees, and there's all different generations because if you look down my road, just look down Woodland Hills Road, the people who've lived in those houses have lived there for decades. And when it does turn over, it's instantly populated by the younger people. So, and, people just don't really seem to move much. I mean, once you get a spot in there, they seem to stay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you do have a whole mix of anything from just the young couples with little kids to the grandparents who have their grandkids coming over type of thing because they've been living in the same house for 50 years.
Yeah.
And our ward spans 2 schools,
Yeah.
2 elementary schools. So
Oh,
we
interesting.
have Hooverwood and JB Nelson.
In terms of where our kids would go.
Where the kids go.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
On
So
there.
kids. Okay. Interesting.
Hooverwood's actually in the ward.
Yeah.
JB Nelson is not. But like all my kids went to JB Nelson just from where I was living.
Why? I'm going to sound really ignorant now. Why have I not heard, or why am I not remembering what Hoover Woods is?
It's because it's like one of the newer schools.
I've only been here like
Yeah.
7 years.
Yeah, so it's over by Wind Energy Pass, kind of.
Okay.
It's off the beaten path. You just don't
See it.
see it.
You
Yeah.
don't really see it. And the thing is JB is one of the, it's an old school. And once the population started getting bigger to the southern portion of Ward 1, JB couldn't handle all the kids.
Yeah.
So
they built another one.
They needed another one, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and definitely in my part of the area, I was talking to a neighbor the other day, and he was like, he's definitely seen where when I first moved there, no kids were around.
Right.
And now there's kids all over the place.
Yeah.
And we joked about it, Alderman Anderson, and I joked about it because I'm at the top of the hill and he's at the bottom, and we have a great hill where you can just glide down. And they start at my house and end at his.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
We have seen a similar dynamic of what you described, Christopher, where we live on Laurel Street, JB Nelson, and so in Ward 5. So when we moved in, it was probably 70% like older folks, and it, like you said, just continually replaced by younger families or younger people. And that has been fascinating because we're all just like slowly getting to know one another, slowly taking over the street a little bit. And yeah, it's this interesting, like it does generate like a sense of community, and you start sharing information and continuity. That's right. Yeah. And even the older folks that are there, we love and we all know, and that's really cool. And there's just a nice stability to it.
I think it's kind of common throughout town, though. I mean, like my parents still live in the same house that I grew up in over in Ward 2.
Right.
And I mean, depending on, some of these neighborhoods, people they move into them and all throughout Batavia, don't leave.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why they said when they were building the new subdivision over there off of McKee, they came in and when they were promoting it, and I think they said they did the market survey in March of whatever year that was. And at that singular point in time, there were like 4 houses for sale and 2 townhomes in the entire town. I mean, there wasn't anything for sale.
Definite demand. There's no question about that. What would you say is you mentioned flooding. This might be it, but what would you say is the biggest challenge facing Ward 1?
I think we fixed the flooding for the most part.
Okay.
Yeah, I do know there's a couple yards still.
Yeah.
I've met with some neighbors.
They're listening now and they're furious. that you didn't know that.
I do know we're working on an electric project in Cherry Park because there were some electrical issues. So that was going on. Probably the biggest one recently that I think helped was the Mahoney Creek tributary. We did a big project because of the runoff up from Kirk Road. It was going to Mahoney Creek, and that would cause a lot of flooding going on.
Okay.
So shortly after I got on council, there was big discussions of, we hired a consultant. They came in, they put in some recommendations, and again, it was like millions of dollars if we did everything. So we chose this one project that they said that would probably have a big impact on it.
Got it, yeah.
Of course, the neighbors that lived there didn't like it because they lost their screen of all the trees on Kirk Road.
But it turned out beautiful.
It did turn out beautiful because now the people that were getting flooding in their basements are not getting it.
And
anytime it rains, I'm like down at H. Michael Wild Park. What's going on? Is there flooding?
Yeah, because that place was always underwater. That's where we used to have soccer practice. But I mean, even when you drive down Kirk Road, it's aesthetically pleasing too. They did a real nice job.
That's cool.
And the way it looks. And it really did remedy a lot. And that's one of those issues where if you're looking at all your constituents within, I think we counted up the houses that were along the creek that were in Ward 1. So you had about 4 houses that were on Kirk Road that were going to lose their brush screen because of the way it had to be done in terms of making the area a new pond out there. So they were unhappy about that. But then you had to think about, I think there was 40 or 50, at least in Ward 1, houses along that area that were going to highly benefit from not having floods in their house anymore.
Yeah.
And Wintergreen was at risk of collapsing because of all the flooding.
Yeah, like actual road problems.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So sometimes, and they were very unhappy. But that's the thing where, you have the majority who just don't want their places to flood. And then you have just a couple who really weren't even getting flooded because it didn't affect them because they're at the very edge. But they lost some of the cover for Kirk Road. But then we worked with the consultants and we did the best we could to try to make it so that there is a bit of a buffer there and, planting the appropriate trees that are going to survive. The giant arborvitaes, they're going to survive like the salt coming off Kirk Road and grow fast and hopefully make a new natural screen.
When you say they weren't happy, you're alluding to receiving feedback. How does that happen? Like how did you know that people weren't happy?
Emails
and
came down here.
Yeah, I mean, these were really unhappy people about So they actually came down a couple of times. And then, like I said, I think staff did real good in terms of laying out exactly what's going on. We're available to talk, They addressed all the concerns.
Yeah.
They might be small concerns, big concerns. They always tried to address the concerns of it was basically like 4 houses, which I understand it was a big change.
I have a brain that would put a lot of weight on those 4 houses. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of why I do this, where I'm like interviewing individuals, and it's the individual stories that matter.
Right.
How do you get past that?
Because you do the best you can to address their concerns, but then it's the overall good. I mean, you are really making a huge improvement. In this instance, it was in our ward. I mean, they had to do the same thing over in
Carriage Crest.
Carriage Crest, yeah. And there was a lot of concerns, but it was for the greater good of the entire community as opposed to just. And I know there was a lot of people that came down, and sometimes you just have to look at it where you address their concerns as best as you can, but then you also have to try to put the big picture in play.
Yeah.
And when it comes down to, there are people that weren't even able to sell their houses because of the flooding and, the insurance with that. And, you can't have neighbors that aren't able to do that.
Right.
Because you don't want to lose the aesthetic of what you're used to, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What has serving in public office taught you about yourself?
I need to be more patient sometimes, I think. Maybe.
You need to laugh more.
Yeah, I'm a little bit.
Those are related, I think.
Yeah. A little Captain Serious going on. Me and Johnny Taves. No, I don't know. I just need to. Sometimes I get a little bit too serious, and I just got to step back. But that's why there's 14 people, so that one person, if he's just being a little bit too serious or just not liking that topic, the other 13 can
engage.
And yeah, and then you you got to step back if it's being counterproductive.
Are you equating impatience with too serious? Are those related? Yeah,
sometimes. But
what causes that?
When I feel like things are being micromanaged and things that are not our job. I mean, we have highly capable staff that are paid well by the city to do their jobs that I'm not qualified to do.
I see, yeah.
And so I rely on staff to really help out. And I get frustrated when there's micromanaging that happens about things that I think that staff has adequately handled and that we're not even qualified to necessarily criticize them. We're here to see, have them give us a presentation. If we don't like the presentation, we don't like their thought process, we can always ask them to come back. Because they always say, can you give staff direction? And we can give staff direction. But that's what happens a lot at the committee of the whole. Give staff, here's a discussion, give us direction as to what to do. Here's what our thoughts are. But so I get frustrated with micromanaging and doing things that are not our job. We have a certain role here. And our role is not to do the jobs of staff. In my view. That's just my view, of course.
And you made it real serious. You're serious about it. But should you be less serious about it, or is that important to be serious?
No, I think I'm not serious all the time.
No.
Just on certain
you're not.
Well, I'm just saying, that sounds like something you really believe strongly about.
I do believe strongly about that.
Of course, you'd be a little frustrated if that wasn't happening.
And that's That's like, I'd say that's the main thing that
Yeah.
frustrates me.
Yeah.
And that is when I get serious. And that's when, because then I feel like we're kind of either treading water, wasting time,
Yeah.
you know, extending a discussion that doesn't need to be extended as long as it is being extended. But everybody can have their thoughts, you know, and that's fine.
Yeah.
That's what everybody's here for, is to have their thoughts. But sometimes I just think that there's a little bit too much micromanaging that's occurring at the city council level.
Yeah.
And then that's when I say to him, I'm like, hey, we should meet up for drinks this weekend.
We got to process.
Right. You need to blow off some steam, my
Right.
friend. So,
It's interesting though. You guys have drinks.
yeah.
So it's interesting. Like the last people I interviewed, Ward 3, also hang out. And it's just interesting. Now, I will say this. When I was telling Dustin about this, one of the other council members, he said, you better be careful. And I was like, what are you talking about? He said, well, there's a rule. You can't have more than 4 people. You can't have more than 4 council members in a room at one time. And I just panicked a little bit. He said something like he made it sound really scary, like you're violating some regulation.
It's the Open Meetings Act.
Open Meetings Act. So you hear how scary that sounds? I don't want to accidentally violate.
No.
I was like, no, this is 2 people and me. So I think we're fine. But
Totally fine.
Yeah. And it would be if you had 4 of us together, but I don't think
4 together is okay.
5 together.
5
would be
together.
But we
federal
also,
crime.
well, I mean, we could meet together because we're not discussing topics.
Yeah, as long as you're not discussing city business, you can hang out with
Right.
anybody you
like
want.
flooding or
Correct.
micromanaging in meetings or
Yeah.
Well, it's more that
Or making
just
decisions,
yeah,
like
making
trying-
decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
as long as you're not colluding.
Correct.
basically that's
Yes.
it. Yeah, I mean, you can talk about frustrations and general things, but you just can't do something that should be spoken about like at council or at committee of the whole.
I truly believe that when we come here, this is where we need to be having the discussions.
Yeah.
Chris and I, even though we get together and, we'll have drinks, we never talk about topics that are coming up and how one another are going to vote or where we're
Interesting.
going to go. I want the public to see, what's coming through. I don't want to come in with a predetermined, how I'm already thinking about this.
Right. Yeah.
And I think we actually make a good mix for our ward because we have very different views on different things, but we still get along great.
Yeah.
And that's the whole purpose. I don't think that everybody should always be so divided.
Yeah.
Just because you have some different views on things, in the end, Jen and I, we always get along and we always, decide to make the right decision for whatever the issue might be for the city or for the ward.
Yeah.
And then I'll poke at him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Clearly.
Best one. Oh, the best one was a couple weeks ago. He said something about, wow, what about the bag fees? And I'm like, we finally got you on board with the bags.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, because we're trying to
He
figure out
was
something
totally
to do.
objected.
Yeah.
He totally
In the
objected
beginning.
to the bags.
The
yeah.
bag
tax.
fees.
The bag fee.
I almost said tax.
Bag fees. Bag
Yeah.
fees.
Jennifer, what was something you learned about yourself?
So, there are some things because I work outside that I'm working on professionally, some of the skills that I can work on with council. So some of it is listening and paying attention and some note taking to kind of remember the thoughts afterwards. Public speaking, again, I'm like nervous, like speaking out in front of a crowd. I remember having to give presentations and I was like so quiet and meek and my hands were so sweaty. So that working on public presentation and conversations is something that I've worked on. Framing my opinion and not just going along with, oh yeah, sounds great. Because I'm the one as I really come in, I'm like, well, let me just hear what other ideas are.
Yeah.
I don't think that I'm a idea creator. I'm oh, that sounds like a good idea and how can we build upon that type of person. So I may not come out with the ideas right away, but I can build upon that. So there's multiple things I work on.
What keeps you up at night?
The dam.
Yeah, that feels right.
Yeah. The dam right now.
That felt like it was already a hard subject 2 years ago, and now it seems really, really difficult.
Yeah.
Explain what the issue is with the dam right now.
The dam's falling apart, okay? And due to that...
This is next to the Challenge Building if you walk up past Peg Bond Center.
Correct.
It's a low-head dam.
And it's been falling apart forever and ever and ever. And now you can see the breaches. And the problem is that, especially when you get like in dry times, and it's allowing that breach now, it's really making, the pond over here, which is not natural, be very low and stagnant.
Yeah.
So there was issues about getting money to have the dam removed, but then in order to get the money, there were certain regulations that were tied to it to get the federal money because they don't want anything placed back in the river was the concept at the time.
Yeah.
And so it's just been a whole problem because then you have the people who paid lots of money for these houses and these townhomes over there on the other side of the pond who are looking at, it's kind of drained right now, and then the dam is just falling apart. And if it breaches, then it really is going to be drained over there, especially in times of drought. So the issue is that I don't even think the money's available anymore now from the federal government that they were going to potentially give to us to pay for removal. Yeah. But then if they were going to give it to us, we would have had to keep it open too, which is, it's been a whole thing of, this is where there's been lots of different opinions on that whole situation.
Different opinions on 14 different paths of decision trees.
Yeah, right.
And it not only would affect Depot Pond, but also, as we saw up at the Carpentersville Dam, there would be narrowing of the river. Of course, people had talked about, oh my gosh, the mud flats. And from what I've seen with Carpentersville, it's kind of healed itself. Okay. Things have grown in. So for me, that hasn't been as much of an issue of, was that going to look like it? It'll heal itself. But there is that concern of, do we keep Depot Pond? Do we not keep it? The dam needs to come out. I still
like my idea. You just build the berm across, and then you have engineering figure out how to pump the water in the pond. And then the pond stays. And you can take the dam out and the river reverts back to its natural state. And then it's an artificial pond anyway. That was a branch of the river. The river went right through where Walgreens and Riverside is right now. Yeah. That's the river, but it's got filled in and then they made that. So it's not even a natural pond anyway.
Right.
It's a portion of the river.
Yeah. Well, okay. You're going to vote on that tomorrow then?
No, you bring that up, it causes a whole firestorm.
Yeah. It's my opinion that the future is actually along the river. So I really feel that if we can get businesses to start, kind of building and flipping, where you have your vision along the river, I think that would help make it become a focus of the area.
And which feels like it's happening a bit now.
It is, yeah. I think over on the west side of the river where they have the river walk, which ends just underneath the bridge. Yeah. I would love to see it extend all the way to the Peace Bridge. Yep. And then that way all those buildings that have all the greenage there, encourage them to take it down, clean it up, and then it kind of put some sort of seating back there, along the river to bring the focus to the river. Yeah. I sat there and talked about, people are like, oh, people take their special pictures along the Depot Pond. I remember when my daughter had her first grade confirmation, we actually went in Appleton Park, or is it Appleton that's behind the police station?
Yeah, I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, along the river, and that's where we took our pictures. And we just found it to be, because nobody else was there, and it was just as pretty.
Well, it looks real nice right along here,
Yeah. It
and
is.
they put the murals up on the other side of the building and everything.
Yeah. So I think it's my opinion that's the future, is more of the focus on the river and having people be close to it.
As a focal point. Last question. To you, what does it mean to belong in Batavia?
Well, like I said, I think the city of Batavia, it's always been kind of I think it's a close-knit community. I think it's one of those communities where it seems like everybody knows somebody, where there's, it's like the Kevin Bacon thing, just a couple of degrees of separation. You probably know everybody in this town, Everybody knows the mayor. He's out there picking weeds off street corners and things or whatever. I mean, he's always out and about. He loves the town. I think that everybody who's on city council, even though there's lots of different views, everybody is on there because they love the town. It's a town I like. It's a town that I've grown up in. It's a town where my family's still here. My sisters both still live here too. I think it's a town where, kids, they might always say when they're growing up, I'm moving out. I'm moving away from Batavia, getting out of here. But, in the end, Midwest is best. And they, a lot of times I've seen people come back. They move on back. And right into the area if there's houses for sale.
Yeah, totally.
But I think it's just a real close-knit community where, like I said, everybody seems to know a lot of people. And if you don't, somebody that knows that other person.
Yeah. What about you?
It's a good question. And as somebody that listens to your podcast all the time, I'm like, I knew this question was coming, but I was like, I don't know if I truly prepared for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, as a person making decisions, I want to be able to make decisions that I'm not going to make everybody happy on every single decision. But if we're able to make decisions that, at some point somebody's going to be happy with everything, and that people just feel comfortable being here with their families and wanting to raise their families. Not everybody's going to do the same thing and want to experience that. But if we can give opportunities where somebody can be like, oh, I really enjoy doing this, whether it be fishing along the river, not my cup of tea, but there are people that enjoy doing that. So if we can provide an opportunity for somebody to feel some sort of fulfillment, if they're here for a short term or a long term, they can experience something that's memorable to them.
Yeah. You're kind of talking about amenities, which is, I don't know, it's people underplay the value of that sometimes, because it's not just like doing things for fun. It's like, like we talked about, a focal point. It's something that brings people together, and it creates memories and experiences. Like you feel like that sense of belonging. I actually existed here, as opposed to like, I merely existed here,
Right.
So.
Right. Where you find something that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
I laugh because my house is the wild garden, and this year it's sunflowers. They're going to start blooming at some point. But this one year I had these squash plants growing from my front yard all the way out to my sidewalk to where then I had to turn them. And because I was working from home, I would have my windows open and I'd hear people walking by and commenting on those and always walking by to see how far they've grown. So it was like, they enjoyed coming to that part to see what is new and different. How has that changed? Yeah. And it was just a walk that they were out, but it was something that they looked forward to.
Thanks for listening to Area Code Batavia. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode. If you enjoyed this podcast, you should absolutely subscribe to the newsletter. Just click the link in the show notes. Most importantly, if you know someone who would love to hear this podcast, please share it with them. Word of mouth is the best way to grow our community and help more people feel like they belong in Batavia, Illinois. Batavia is produced by Area Code Audio. It's hosted and produced by me, Richard Clark, with additional production help from Jennifer Clark. Edited and mixed by Matt Linder.